Hi, everybody. Welcome to Reading Between the Lines. I'm Sarah, and I am super excited today because I'm joined by today's guest, Ursula Vernon, who you may know through her pen name, which is T. Kingfisher. She is an award-winning author, illustrator, and her work stretches from quirky, hilarious children's series like Dragon's Breath and Hamster Princess to darkly whimsical adult fantasy and horror novels like Nettle and Bone and What Moves the Dead. Her stories have earned her Hugo, Nebula, and Locus Awards, but more importantly, they have earned her a dedicated fan base who really love her unique blend of humor, heart, and sometimes really downright creepy storytelling. So, Ursula, welcome and how are you?
I'm good, and thank you so much for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
Well, you and I have a mutual friend, Sean Speakman over at Grim Oak Press. And so
Yeah, yeah.
I was
Sean is awesome.
Yeah, he's great. So, you actually have, well, let me start over. You are a prolific writer, and you have two new releases. One that came out August 19th, which was or is Hemlock and Silver. So, I want to talk about that one a little bit. And then What Stalks the Deep series, or actually Sworn Soldier, book three, What Stalks the Deep, has is coming out on the 30th of September. So, I wanted to talk
And
first, maybe.
horrifyingly, I actually have yet another one coming out, I think November or December 1st or something like that, called Snake Eater. Yeah, it's been a year.
Really? Oh, wow. Okay,
Yeah,
cool. Tell me about the genre. Like, what genre is Snake Eater?
it's sort of contemporary-ish fantasy, maybe some creepy stuff. It's basically me going back to my classic horror trope of woman and dog alone in a house she inherited from a dead relative kind of thing, which left to my own devices I would write about 50 horror novels like that.
Love
And
it.
this one,
Okay.
it's set in the desert, and Snake Eater refers actually to roadrunners, which
Yeah.
roadrunners are actually terrifying if you live with them. They everyone thinks Meep Meep like the cartoon. No, they're little velociraptors that are with like javelin beaks, and they kill rattlesnakes and eat them for a lot of their food. And everyone in the Southwest has a "let me tell you a horrible thing I saw a roadrunner do" story. So yeah, they're carnivores and very fierce.
Wow. Okay. Very cool. Um, wow. Well, so with Hemlock and Silver, that is this is basically a spin-off, a little bit of Snow White, which is one of my favorite fairy tales. I want to ask you later on more about like the dark fairy tale thing. Because it's really one of my favorite themes in books. But this is a really delightful twist because we've got a main character named, is it Anya or Anja?
Anya.
Anya, and she is a healer who literally drinks poison to save others. And so she's summoned to heal an ailing princess. And along the way, she stumbles into a magical mirror that could either be salvation or complete disaster, as is usually the case with magic mirrors, I would assume.
Yeah, yeah, they're almost never just, oh yeah, look, there's a magic mirror, don't worry about it.
Yeah, exactly. She is with a grumpy guard, a cat with way too much personality. Probably, I think it was described, the cat is a narcissist, which
Oh yeah, is
I
a
think
cat.
all cats are probably narcissists, but
Oh yeah.
um, and then plenty of danger wrapped up in Ursula's trademark wit. So in this story, I would love to talk a little bit about like Anya because she's literally healing people, though she's a little obsessed with the poison aspect of things. And she finds this mirrored world, and I loved the concept of both poison and then reflection, and just wondered if you could expand on that a little bit.
Well, part of it was, and because this is a fantasy world, I didn't really have the technology level to get to it. But uh, chirality is, if you mirror a drug or something, it a chemical, whatever, a molecule. That's the word I'm after. It will do something different than what it does. So, like right-handed, a right-handed, complex molecule may uh, cure your headache, and left-handed may do nothing, or it may give you a headache. And there are it's a weird and sort of not, I think, as well understood as it could be, function of chemistry that mirrored molecules act very differently than their counterparts. So, and the vast majority of ours, I think, are like right-handed molecules, but occasionally you get left-handed molecules. So, in the thinking about the mirror, everything in there is essentially a mirrored molecule. So the apple that comes out of the mirror is poisonous because it's it is a basically a left-handed mirrored
Right.
version, and it's the sort of the I mean basically, I think you only start to get into that if you're a chemist, most likely, but or a doctor or something. But uh, that was part of what I was thinking of with the
Very
whole
cool.
poisons and the mirror. Yeah,
I love that. Okay. And then with the second book that's coming out, which is on September 30th, What Stalks the Deep, tell us a little bit more about this series. These are novellas too, but tell us a little bit
yeah.
about the series, and then I have a quick, I'll explain more, a little synopsis about about book three.
Well, the Sworn Soldier books follow Alex Easton, who is a soldier from a fictional Eastern European country called Galatia. That not to be confused with the actual one, with the that is spelled slightly differently in, I think, Austria-Hungary or wherever. It's set in about it's in 1890 something. I have
Okay.
been a little vague on the exact year so that I can get away with fudging some of the dates things were invented. And it's Alex comes from a culture where soldiers that has very complicated language, and soldiers have a different set of pronouns. So the joke is they have different pronouns for men, women, priests, children, rocks, God, and soldiers. And so, due to various cultural things, Alex started out as a daughter and then joined the military and became a soldier, and is now just kind of a soldier for life, finds it congenial, is retired, has PTSD, hangs out in Paris with their uh, sort of aide slash uh, bodyguard. And the thing is that Alex keeps running into all sorts of horrible supernatural events or just weird
Yeah.
events, and does not like them. The first one, What Moves the Dead, was based on the fall of the House of Usher. The second one was a weird exploration of the myths about the hag that sits on your chest and steals your breath in
Yes.
Eastern European folklore, and also about PTSD. And this one is about coal mines and why you should absolutely never be a coal miner in West Virginia in the 1800s if you can possibly avoid it.
This one, I haven't read this one, but it's of course, but it sounds so good because and Alex is a really interesting and complex character too, but she is in West Virginia to investigate a missing cousin. And then of course she is, only to find a terrifying abandoned coal mine with a reputation for being haunted, which of course we know the truth is a lot darker than what we assume it is. And then what's waiting underground is a lot more chilling. So this is really fascinating. And of course, knowing as well, for me, I love the idea that, of course, this is in, you said the late 1800s as well. And so I think that that helps, that adds a layer to the creepiness for sure.
Oh yeah, and coal mines are inherently terrifying. Which I did not know until I started doing lots of research and was like, oh my God, there are so many ways to die in a coal mine. It's unbelievable.
I live in an area in Northern California in a gold rush area, and we have, not we, but just the people who live here, there are occasional, empty plots of land or acreage of land that you'll see, and they're always for sale, and nobody can buy them or nobody will buy them because they typically have a mine shaft in them, and then
Yep.
this underground. The land is, you never know. Like if you try to build on that, is it going to collapse underneath the house? Like you just,
Oh yeah.
there's
One of
like
the
an
horrible
inner,
things I learned was
yeah.
that there are estimated to be like over 10,000 mine shafts that are unlabeled that are just lying around in the country, and you could step in one,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's like, okay, we should probably go put signs up or something, but they don't even know where they are because
No.
they were all done privately and not registered. So yeah.
Yeah. There's a big treasure hunting kind of a like culture around where I am. And so a lot of people will buy some of these plots of land and then, start, mining for gold and whatnot. But still, it just sounds incredibly dangerous. Anyway, so
Not to mention potentially like the cleanup fees on the environmental, like,
yeah.
pollutants has to be unbelievable.
Absolutely crazy. So, anyway, I wanted to just go back for a second for listeners. So, we're talking about the Sworn Soldier series. So, book one was What Moves the Dead. Book two is What Feasts at Night. And now, book three, coming out on the 30th, is What Stalks the Deep. So,
Yep.
um, I also noticed with both of these two new books coming out, we definitely have the hidden world theme kind of happening here. One is underground and one is behind a mirror. And again, I just wanted to ask about what you think your brain kind of gravitates toward with the idea of like what's lurking beneath and why that is so fascinating.
Oh goodness, I love that. It's a trope that comes up a lot in my work, even though
Yeah.
don't usually, like, I think of it in so many words, but it shows up in in Snake Eater too, actually.
Yeah.
And there it's sort of a hidden world of the spirits and the gods that live in the desert, and it's just always the sense, I think, that if you looked closely enough at something, you would look through to the other side, in a sense. And in some, that's positive. Like, I would love to look around and see the desert. Okay, let me rephrase that. I think I would love to look around and see the desert gods and whatnot. I say it would
Yeah.
probably actually be very traumatic, and it would be nice to be able to stop looking. And I have no desire to look around inside a coal mine. I did way too much research for that, and now want to avoid them at all costs.
Yeah.
Uh, oh God, there was a website I went to that was just, I think it was a company selling ventilation systems for coal mines, and it had this very useful chart of all the gases that you could encounter in a coal mine, and whether you would be poisoned or explode or both. And usually it was both, but I
Oh.
think the only and the miners had names for them, like black damp and fire damp and stink damp and I think white damp, and yeah, they were all named something damp, and it was fascinating and horrifying. But and mirrors, I have actually always been a little afraid of mirrors at night. I don't like looking in them if it's dark at night.
Yeah.
I am like, because I'm always sort of like, when I get up to use the bathroom, which I do a lot because I'm a woman of a certain age, at night I try to avoid looking in the mirror when I'm washing my hands, because yeah, I always have a vague fear that I will look up and there will be something standing behind me, and that's not really the mirror's fault if there is, because but if I don't see it, I don't have to worry about it. Uh, and I know people who are afraid that, like, their reflection will do something. I'm never worried about that. Like, I figure my reflection is probably like me, just wants to pee and go back to bed. But I always just have a feeling there will be something moving behind me, and I'm yeah. So that makes me a little neurotic. And whenever I'm scared of something, I try to write a horror novel about it, so other people are also scared of it, so that then I'm not a weirdo. Misery loves
Exactly.
company.
Exactly. It does. That makes me think about this was like 10 years ago. I was renting a house that I had just moved into and it had been cleaned and I was in the tub and the tub face it was all nice and steamy in there and I was enjoying my life and you can on the mirror, of course, was all fogged up and as it began to fog up, somebody who had been there who lived there before, I'm assuming, had written something like, oh gosh, I'm so drunk right now. But it was just like the wording began to appear on the mirror, like as I was staring at it from the tub, and
Oh
I was like,
yeah.
"Holy crap! What the hell is going on?" It like scared the hell out of me. And of course, I Windexed
Oh yeah.
that mirror like crazy. But anyway,
And
okay,
I think part of it also is that we're so vulnerable in the bathroom. Like
yeah,
in the tub, you are super vulnerable, and so it's extra nerve wracking. And
it
it
was
doesn't
just.
help that I know one or two people who have been in the bathroom when someone broke into their house and like locked the door, and we're like, can someone check and see? I don't have good signal to make a call. Can someone see if my husband came home from the office? Really, kind of thing. And yeah.
My God, that is frightening. Yeah. Ooh, okay. I wanted to also tell you that, so I'm going to switch to the like fairy tale retelling or the dark fairy tale kind of a theme. Thornhedge is my favorite, but Nettle and Bone is a
Oh,
close
thank you.
second. And I always tell people, especially with Thornhedge, we have a main character here who is slightly amphibious, I'll just say that. And when I tell people about the book, I remark about how atmospheric all of them are, but Thornhedge especially, because our heroine really enjoys her solitude in the mud and in the damp. And she,
You can say she's a were-toad because that's, I think, in the
okay,
marketing materials. It's not a spoiler. Yeah,
it is.
it's a
Okay.
toadling. Her name's Toadle. She
Yes.
can turn into a toad. Yes.
Yes.
By the time I was
Eh,
done writing the book, I was like, God, I wish I could turn into a toad.
she is such a cool character. And she also is in the beginning kind of cloaked in her own anxiety and sense of responsibility. We won't go into why, but for me, your stories always transport me through all of the five senses, and I feel like this comes supernaturally for you, while other authors are not able to do this. But I mean, you're there with these characters, and you can feel the mud between your toes and the dampness, and I just love that you can create those worlds
Oh,
for
thank you.
us.
That's very kind.
Um, okay, so my question was, what do you think calls you to like these dark fairy tale themes? And do you have a favorite one from childhood or are they all kind of your favorite?
Uh, Part of it is, and I wish I had like a good and deep and meaningful answer, but it's plots are hard, and
Plots are hard. Those
yeah,
fair.
and with when you're retelling a fairy tale, you already know the shape of the story. You know what
Yeah.
from point A to point B. You just have to get in there and change things. Thornhedge, the story starts basically about three-quarters of the way through, and we get some of the rest through flashbacks, and I changed the story around quite a lot. But uh, and Hemlock and Silver is does not only resemble Snow White in vague places, but
Yeah.
some others like Bryony and Roses, which was a Beauty and the Beast retelling, is reasonably faithful. And leaving aside that plots are hard, uh, I like them because at one because you don't have the blank canvas, you have a story which frequently is very nonsensical in parts, and things like that
Yeah.
make me sort of nuts. And I get in there and I'm like, okay, how can I make this make sense? How
Yeah.
can I, no human would actually act like this. How do I uh, get in and change things so that what they're doing actually makes sense given the circumstances? Like with Beauty and the Beast, 90% of retellings, I'm like, it's Stockholm syndrome, and which does not exist, but
Yeah.
from the stories, you would think it did. And the other like 10% of the time, I'm like just mad that he turns back into a human at the end because what the hell? Like, and granted, I have hung out with a lot of furries in my time, but the Beast was just so much cooler than generic Prince
It's
whatever.
true.
I would be like, okay, no, you go back and send the furry guy back.
Yeah.
And I also I feel sort of in a more serious mode that it is not a good idea to tell little girls that if you just love a monster enough, they stop being a monster.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, uh, so I wanted, when I was writing that one, for example, I wanted to get in and set up a scenario where essentially the beast is somewhat justified in kidnapping someone in this case, and is like,
Sure.
okay, something truly horrible is going on here. I have got to have help. The spirit of the house is trying to get out, and I need someone to help me contain this. I'm very sorry. This is not fair to you, but I am in deep shit, kind of thing. And
Yeah.
so that was my take there. Also, spoiler alert: he does not turn back into a human because it's bullshit. And
Yeah.
I may feel strongly about this. As for my one of my favorite fairy tales as a kid, I grew up and had all of the big books of fairy tales and
Yeah.
whatnot, as so many of us did. But strangely enough, it's Bluebeard, and I don't know why, but when I was reading Robin McKinley, who does some amazing fairy tale
Yeah.
retellings and some of my favorites. And in an interview or an afterward or something, she said that she sometimes thought everyone had one fairy tale that they were just retelling over and over again. And my
Yeah.
brain immediately went, "It's Bluebeard," and I was like, "That's interesting." I was very clear on that, but I don't know why. Uh,
Yeah.
for the record, my first husband was not that bad. He was fine. He was just a doofus. Uh, so yeah, that's the one that I've always found kind of interesting, and uh, I have written several variations. I did I thought it was a young adult novel when I wrote it. It turned out that my editor and my agent were like, no.
No.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, and honestly, I still think it's kind of young adult because young adult books are much uh, fiercer and stranger now than they were,
For
years ago.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, called The Seventh Bride, and it was based on the premise that the Bluebeard character marries this miller's daughter, which is also a total fairy tale thing, and she shows up and discovers all six other wives, except they're not dead. They're still in the house, and so things go from there. And
Wow.
I would like to try to write a Bluebeard retelling, and much like the Beast, I would probably try to come up with a version where there is a very good reason that you have killed your previous wives, but I'm still percolating on why that would be. Like, what the hell were they doing? And why did you have
Yeah.
to marry them? And so it's taking some work, but because for the most part, I do not approve of murdering your wives.
No.
I am a wife myself. It is not a good thing to do, but
I'm
that's the
gonna
story I keep kind of coming to.
I love that. Okay, so I haven't read that one, but now that's going to be on the top of my list. In the description notes, I'm going to list all of the retellings that you've had because you've had Seventh Bride, which is the retelling of Bluebeard, Raven and the Reindeer, which is a
That's
queer.
the Snow Queen by
Yeah,
Hans Christian Andersen. Yeah.
love that's my favorite. And so I'm excited
Oh,
about that one. And then Bryony and Roses, we talked about that. That's the Beauty and the Beast retelling. We talked about Thorn Hedge, and that's Sleeping Beauty. And then more recently, A Sorceress Comes to Call, which is a retelling of the Goose Girl. And then Hemlock and Silver. But again, as you already said this, like Hemlock and Silver, there's faint Snow White resemblance here. And I want to reiterate that as well. These are very much your own, very unique stories. These are not exact retellings. There's just a theme that is really,
yeah.
endearing. So
I think if you want it played straight, Bryony and Roses is as close to a straight
the
retelling of
closest, yeah.
Beauty of yeah, but for the most part, I just like get in there and start digging around.
One thing I wanted to ask you, because I didn't realize that you also illustrate, and of course, under Ursula Vernon, you have done a lot of kids' books as well. And you have your with Digger. Is Digger, I
Mhm.
would say that's a graphic novel. Would you call it a comic or a
Yeah, yeah.
graphic novel? Okay.
Well,
Um,
it was a web comic. I mean, it's a
it's
spectrum of,
it
yeah,
is.
like, yeah, it was a
Okay.
web comic, but when you put 800 pages of web comic together, you get a graphic novel. So,
Yeah. I loved that. And is it what is the age range for Digger? Is that, would you say like all ages or mostly for
uh,
children?
I would say no. It's definitely for adults and all the kids who started reading Stephen King at an age that was probably wildly inappropriate. They would enjoy it too.
So
Uh, so,
that is
yeah,
that is
like,
my child. I have a 14-year-old who has
oh
been
yeah, yeah,
borrowing
no,
like
it's
my horror novels, and I'm like, wait, I first of all, I haven't read that. Second of all, you're 14. Like,
I
so
mean, I know 12-year-olds, 10 and 12-year-olds who have read it who are not at all bothered by it. I mean, kids today are playing Call of Duty, or well, probably not play
oh
Call of Duty
yeah.
anymore because that's all. Yeah, so no, nothing in there will horrify them. The worst is that people say "damn" a lot,
There
and
you go.
there's some vaguely, weird mythological violence. But yeah.
I wanted to mention because I related to this, and someone had described like Digger, and maybe you've spoken about this before, of like creating it maybe for also reluctant readers. So for readers who have a hard time with just those blocks of text, and graphic novels are a really wonderful way to still get your reading in, but you're still using your
Oh,
imagination.
absolutely, absolutely.
Um, so I
Dragon
wanted
Death
to
and
ask you,
Hamster
yeah,
Princess were both
yeah,
were made with reluctant readers in mind, uh, and huge amounts of credit for that actually does not go to me. It goes to the art director who did the layouts. But because the big blocks of text are like an instrument of torture for a lot of kids,
yeah,
they're laid out so that you should never get to a like 2 page spread where there's not a comic somewhere on it. That so as like a break point, or as like a I just have to read and then I get a comic panel kind of
yeah,
thing. So
little
they like give you a
reward.
goal, exactly, or a
Yeah.
reward. And yeah, they're like the hybrid graphic novel chapter book, and they were made specifically for that. If you're not a reluctant reader, you could absolutely read it too. But
Yeah.
the big thing that I wanted to be very clear on writing the books is that they are not condescending or talking
Yeah.
down to, because if you are already if you're a reluctant reader, there's a bad tendency that they just make you read stuff for younger kids, which which is feels
Makes you
insulting
feel
if you're a
bad about
kid.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's boring, and you don't want to read about Dick and Jane and the mall or whatever and Spot. So then you just feel worse about reading, and it's just a thing that makes you feel stupid. And
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's the worst thing you can do. So graphic novels are great because they, limited words, but usually very advanced words, and so they are not
Yeah.
there to you don't feel like you're being sent like you're in the slow lane if you're reading them. And so yeah, huge champion of graphic novels all over.
Were you a reluctant reader, or was this just more of a theme that you picked
It
up
was
kind of?
more of a theme I embraced. I was not a reluctant reader. I read
Yeah.
everything I could get my hands on, and I actually I did not read Stephen King at too young an age. I was the age range slightly before that where we all read Clan of the Cave Bear at an inappropriate age. You
Yeah.
can basically say that to anyone in Gen X, or
Yeah.
any woman at least in Gen X, and like, oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
no, read those for the
Yeah.
Neanderthals, got more than I bargained for. So yes,
Exactly. Um, well, with Digger, I'm especially going to recommend that to my daughter too, because I think she'd really enjoy it. And also it'd be more fun for her as well to kind of break up the monotony of the large clumps of text for her too. So,
oh yeah.
and I also appreciate that you, as an artist, you work with watercolor, digital media, and then mixed media too. Do you have a favorite of the mediums?
Digital is the one that I'm best at, I suppose, if that makes sense. The reason
Yeah.
that I have done a lot of of other stuff is because in my long career before I was a writer, when I was an artist, you can sell an original for a lot more money. So I did a lot
Yeah.
of originals, but I'm digital art is actually what I started out on when 1,000 years ago on an Amiga 500 drawing with a mouse, and then as time and graphics programs got better, I sort of grew along with them, and so digital art has always been my first love, and uh,
Very cool.
and I picked up the other things as I went along.
I'm going to link to, I forgot what the website's called. I'm not doing a great job here. Is it Topo Taco? What is it? The
Oh, Topatico, yes,
Topodico.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that if
it's
people are
excellent.
interested to
Yeah.
see Ursula's work or to pick some up, this is where you would go, and I'll have a link to that in the description.
Excellent.
So, um, I want to be mindful of time. So, my last question for you is now that well, you said you had a third book coming out, which we touched on briefly this year. Um, you're very prolific. How do you do that? And also, anything else, any other projects that you want to share about that we can help pre-order or support you with?
Absolutely. Well, for the projects coming out, there's a print volume of Nine Goblins coming out in I think January, which
Okay.
is a weird little novella I self-published years ago, and it's a lot of fun. Uh, it was basically the book where I had been writing children's books forever, and they kept telling me things I could not do in them, like arson and murder and whatnot. And finally, I was like,
But I'm
screw
going
that,
to.
it's child appropriate because since I have two stepsons, but I got them when they were older, so
Yeah.
I have no sense of 10-year-olds should not read about burning a haunted house down or whatever. And so I just think of what I would have liked as a kid,
Yeah.
and of course, what kids like and what their parents would like them to read are often two different things. Uh, but so I was just like, I'm going to write a book with everything, and it's going to be for adults, and
Yeah.
no one will stop me. And so there's a lot of dead bodies, but it's also kind of weirdly sweet. And so the third version of that, then I think we get Wolfworm, which is a horror novel set in 1899 in North Carolina, and it's about a scientific illustrator who answers a job in a house and working for a reclusive scientist and gets more than she bargained for.
Oh, that
And
sounds
it's
really good.
yeah, it's about bot flies and screw worms too. I wrote it before the screwworm was headed north. I promise, reality is being in very poor taste here.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So yeah, every now and then you write something and then you're just like, when I wrote it, it wasn't a thing. And I know a lot of near future writers who have basically just stopped and started writing like ancient fantasy or something. So like, nope, reality moved too fast. Scoop the book. Uh, and
It's
then I have Daggerbound later next year, which is
yeah.
the sequel to Sword Heart. Uh,
Yep.
and I am working on, in addition to some other things, I'm working on the fifth book in the Saint of Steel Paladin books. And
Cool.
yeah, and yes, I am really prolific, and part of it is that I just sit down and write 1,000 words a day, 5 days a week, and since I write fairly clean first drafts, I usually get
Yeah.
to keep about 950 of those words. So as long as I do that reliably and maybe a little extra, like 1,100 or 1,300 a day,
Yeah.
the plates keep spinning. So
That's really quite impressive too. I'm very and I'm happy to hear that. I also I think when you are a creative person, you can't just wait for the muse to hit you. You do have to just have, you have to train yourself and just sit down every day and do the thing. And,
oh yeah, every now
so
and again the muse does hit me, often on a project I am not supposed to be working on, and then I will
yeah.
actually sit down and take it, because I'm like, look, I can sit down and plod at the keyboard every day. The enthusiasm is a more limited resource, so I will hammer out 5 or 10,000 words on something.
Right.
But then I go back to the ones for the deadlines and keep working. and I also usually have two or three projects going at once. So if I get to a point on one where I'm like, I am so tired of this, I don't know what happens next, I can put it aside for a few days, work on the other one, and then usually by the time I've hit the I don't know what happens next on that, it's percolated through the back of my brain, so I know what happens on the first one, and I can go back to it. So
Yeah.
I also have ADHD like whoa. So
Same. So cool. Well, I want to chat with you just for another minute or so, but I'm going to wrap up the
mhm.
podcast and just say thank you so much. This was so, so fun. I would love to have you back when we can t and there's always something apparently that you have coming out. So there's always lots to talk about. Um, I just appreciate you so
Delighted to be
much.
here. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. And